Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on October 19th, 2012, picking up a day after our last video. And this video marks the start of a brand new chapter. So for those of you just joining us, I'd like to fill you in on what's going on here. We are creating an application called WeWikiPaint that so far doesn't do a whole lot. But this is actually being served by code we wrote. We've written a little Node.js application to serve a file, and this is the file we're serving. And what WeWikiPaint is going to be is it is going to be a collaborative painting application. So it's going to be a way for multiple people simultaneously to draw some stuff on a web page, or eventually a wiki, an actual wiki with linked web pages. That might be a ways off, but so we are building WeWikiPaint, and in the last chapter, we just finished getting an automated build set up that would run our tests on multiple real browsers. So we are running on IE9, IE8, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and the iOS simulator. And you can see all of those running every time we run Jake. Now it is also linting all of our code to make sure that we don't have any dumb mistakes like missing semicolons or improper comparisons. We are running tests on all of our server-side files, and we're actually making sure that our application is online. So we have a really thorough set of automation and automated tests here, which is awesome. It's taken a long time to get to this point, but what we have here is just it's great. And as I said in the very first episode, in my mind, test-driven development, rigorous professional software development is all about choosing to make maintenance inexpensive. You spend far less time creating software than you do maintaining software. So professional, rigorous software development is about optimizing for maintenance costs. And one of the ways that we are optimizing for maintenance costs is by putting in all this automation. And the thing is maintenance happens right away. You write some code, it's maintenance. All this code is now in maintenance. So this is going to pay off, or this is already paying off fairly soon. So in this chapter, so we've got all this maintenance automation in place. In this chapter, what we're going to do is we're going to actually start writing the client side portion of the code. And of course, we're going to do that all test driven. Now the client, our next minimum marketable feature is to support painting on the home page. So here we are on the home page. We want to have some sort of area right here that people can do painting on. It won't be collaborative yet, but if we have painting, that will actually be something valuable that people online can really use. And this website really is online. You can go visit it now. And yeah, that's pretty much all you can do. But so we want to make that more interesting. We want to put some painting on there. That's what this next minimum marketable feature is, the smallest thing that we can do that will actually make our site more interesting to real people. So that's going to have multiple pieces. We need to create an empty drawing area. We need to draw a line. You can see I'm keeping these really small. I think we should, in addition to just drawing one line, we actually want to make it so that let's make that draw one line predefined, and then draw a line in response to user mouse, and then let's draw a line in response to iOS touch events. So because that's different, the way drag and drop doesn't work in the same way on Safari, iOS Safari, as it does on the desktop. And then let's draw multiple lines, or maybe some sort of painting, finger painting style. Not really finger painting, but just follow the drag. That's what's coming up. In this chapter, really want to focus on just getting some really basic drawing in. And the focus of this, what you can learn out of this as you're watching, is not so much the stuff we're doing. I mean, I would think we're going to use SVG, we're going to do Raphael. Most of you are probably not doing a whole lot of that in your real projects. So what I'd like you to get out of this is how to do test-driven development on the client side Not so much necessarily the details of what we're testing, but how you do that testing. So keep an eye out for that. Oh, and I think I think we can do all this without actually having it integrated. So at some point, I think we're going to want to minify and deploy. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to happen, but I'd like to do that later on so we can really focus on the TDD of the client code, because we spent a lot of time on infrastructure, and minification is going to take us back into infrastructure. I think our next thing to do is to actually get tests working. It says test drawing tool, but I think just a basic DOM test. So to do that, well, I have a note here of something I'd like to fix, so we'll do that real quick, and then we'll see. I guess what we're going to do is, what we need to do is we need to run, make our test look at Testacular DOM. So Testacular, of course, is the name of our client-side testing framework if you're just joining us. Okay, so we've got this Jake file. We run the Jake file, and it runs our tests on all of our browsers. The problem I have with this is when I'm programming, I'm moving really quickly. I want a really clear and obvious success or failure message. And the problem with this Jake file is that the success is not really obvious. So I've actually had times when I've looked at it, glanced at it, said, oh, that was successful, and moved on, when in fact there was an error, or the script had not completed for some reason, or something like that. So I want to go in here and just change our default. There's lots of ways we could do this, including a wrapper that displayed like a red or green bar. And I've done that on other projects, but I don't want to take that much time in this episode. So what I'm thinking is that for our default task, we can just put in a really clear and obvious OK at the bottom if we succeeded. Yeah, that's great. And then if we don't see that, then we know that there's a problem and can look at it a little more deeply. But this way, what we want to do is we want to program, flip over, run the tests, flip back, just like that. And having that OK at the bottom will allow us to do that. Okay, so that's that. Now, in this episode, the main thing I'd like to do is actually get our test looking at the Testacular DOM. So right now we have this client test. It's not doing anything right now. Let's just make sure that fails correctly. It does. So now let's see it pass. Great. Okay. So what we need to do is actually, to start with, I just want to make sure we can look at the DOM. Let's take a look at how that works. So here we are in Testacular. Now if I pull up the developer tools and look at the actual DOM here, we can see that there's the title and the list of browsers, and then this context frame. And there's the documentation for Testacular is not great. It's a fairly new tool. It's far better than the previous one, though, which is JS Test Driver. So I'm willing to put up with those early stage blues. But it doesn't describe how to do tests of the DOM. But I looked at this earlier, and it looks like this iframe called context is meant for us. It's populated with just sort of a blank thing. So let's see. I guess what I'd like to do is I'd like to put something into here and then assert that we got it out. So let's start by just doing that, because what we're going to do is, of course, in our test, we're going to need to set up our DOM and make assertions about it. We're not going to be testing against our actual HTML page because that's too brittle. If we change our HTML page and the way it's coded is hard coded in our test, then all of our tests break. So what we want to do is in our test we want to set up the DOM each time and make assertions about it. And you'll see how that works as we continue on. Let's start out and just see if we can change this. Let's see if we can get access to this document. It's inside the iframe, and I don't remember exactly how that works. Yeah, let's just go ahead and give it a shot. So we're going to say we expect it to run. Now remember, if we type dump, we should see that show up in our lint just complained because we don't have dump. It doesn't know that dump's a global variable. So I'm going to just add it here as a global variable. So yeah, so we can see that dump come out. So what if we just ask for the context? So we'll ask for that element, and let's dump that. All right, that was a tricky one. This doesn't work. Document.getElementById isn't working. And that's because, and it's returning null, and that's because, as expected, that element does not actually exist where we're at. Let me see if I can explain this. The actual elements, you know, we're showing this context ID, but what we are executing in is this context.html. This is our actual script. So if we go into here and we look at this iframe, it appears to be empty and give us the opportunity to do stuff. But if we actually put a breakpoint on this code and then rerun it, and then look at what's going on, it's totally different. Then it's loaded in that context.html and populated it with our scripts and everything else. So this is we don't get to see the outer code. We are executing entirely in this context iframe, and that context iframe doesn't have anything set up for us. Now there may be some convenience methods set up for us by Testacular, but you know, I don't. The documentation is terrible. There is no documentation of the Testacular API. So I'm going to assume there isn't anything. I did actually poke around, tried to see if I could find something, but I couldn't. So what we can do here is we can actually just dump out the body there, and we should see something show up. Let's go ahead and let this finish. And now because we've changed that file, it's not going to break because it's going to load a different, oh, it looks like I was wrong. No, IE9 is just, IE9 is hanging. Let's fix that. There we go. All right. So yeah, we can dump document.body, which means that we should be able to say, we should be able to create an element here and actually manipulate it. So that's what we're going to work on next time. As a reminder of where we're at, we're just trying to get the ability to insert elements into the Testacular DOM, and assert that the element, let's do that down here, assert that the element exists. So this is really basic stuff so we can get the ability to test our DOM. So that's what we're going to pick up with next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you then.